Hello there, it's David here from Dingle Lane with our regular accountants update, and yes, we've got video! Although I don't know whether that's quite as good for you as it is for me. Anyway, never mind. We are middle of April, and coronavirus remains top of the list of talking points, and so we'll probably start off there if you don't mind. What I'll do is I'll run through the current status of the various government schemes that are going on, and then I'll move on to some of the more important things that you really ought to be doing and will really make a difference to your business rather than scrabbling around for survival, because as anybody that's worked with me over the years will know, scrabbling around in survival mode really isn't going to get you very far. Yes, you may well survive, but it's not actually going to help your business move forward, develop and build that strength and sustainability that's really at the heart of where our accountancy practice works from. So, without any further ado, what has the government been doing on coronavirus support? Da 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 da. Okay, top one, coronavirus job retention scheme. This, you'll remember, is the lovely little helpful scheme that the government has put in place for employers that are furloughing staff, so not laying staff off but not having them come into work. The government is offering to pay up to 80% of their salaries, up to a maximum of £2,500 per month. So far, so very helpful. Now, the rules around this are changing on a regular basis, which is half of the fun that I've been having putting together this little talk here. And in fact, my last couple of newsletters, because every time I wrote something down, 2 days later the rules have changed and I have to go down and rewrite it. But anyway, starting point of it, of course, is it's not being paid yet. So whatever's happening, you ain't getting any money yet. The latest talk from the government is that they expect it to be available from the end of April, which means usually that if it is available from the end of April, it won't work properly and the system will crash. So really expect it, middle of May, you may well start to see some cash coming out of that. So you're going to need to hang on for that. In any event, the other thing to remember is that it's not free money. What HM government giveth, HM government taketh away. It is treated as taxed income to you as your business. So whilst the government is giving you the 80% of the money, or will do eventually when they get round to working out how the heck they're going to pay you, they're going to take 20% of it back because they want that in tax. Thank you very much. That's, of course, on top of the employer's national insurance that you'll be paying, the employee's national insurance that your employees are paying, the PAYE that your employees are paying, the pensions money that you're going to be paying through your payroll, etc. You know where I'm coming from. If you've worked with me before, you know what I think of that kind of system. But hey ho. So, but it is cash, it is coming, but it ain't going to be around probably for another month or so. So you need to factor that into your cash flows. Next point, self-assessment. Okay, so this is particularly relevant for directors and so on and so forth. The government is allowing you to defer any payments on account that are due on the 31st of July through to the 31st of January 2021. You do need to remember, of course, that will need to be paid then. But in any event, it's basically saying that a bill that you are probably going to pay on 31st of July, which is April, 2.5 months away, you're going to get a little bit longer to pay. But that's not, again, helping you now. So, to my mind, neither here nor there. Right, statutory sick pay. The government were very good for small businesses. They were offering to pay statutory sick pay. Remember, they used to pay this sort of stuff many years ago, back in the old days when I was young. But for the last X number of years, they haven't been paying that. You've just had to bear that as a cost as employers. The government has said they will pay that for the coronavirus thing for up to 2 weeks and from an earlier point so that the employees don't have to sit around for the week before they get any statutory sick pay. All well and good. But again, just like the coronavirus job retention scheme, the government hasn't set up the payment scheme yet, so you're having to bear the cash flow for it because they haven't worked out how they're going to give you the money back yet. Yeah, all very good, but doesn't help you now. Right, but it'll come eventually, maybe, if you get that far. Right, next point. Oh, deferring VAT. Now that's quite a useful one, actually. If you've got a VAT quarter bill coming up between 20th of March and the 30th of June, you can defer it for 3 months. Doesn't mean you don't have to pay it though, unfortunately. It's not a complete rebate, it's just deferring the payment for 3 months. But potentially gives you a bit of cash flow boost in. Trick with that one, of course, is if, like most people, you pay your VAT by direct debit, if the direct debit remains live, the government will take the money. So if you want to take advantage of the rebate, cancel that direct debit, otherwise the government will take their VAT payment. Trick then though is reinstate it later, because the last thing you want to do is miss the next VAT payment, because you know what HM Revenue and Customs get like when they don't get their money. You'll start to get the snotty letters, and none of us like getting those snotty letters. It just creates more admin, more paperwork, yada yada yada. But however, yeah, okay, it's a helpful little cash flow thing if you remember to cancel the direct debit and then reinstate it later on when you come to pay your next one. Okay. What else does the government offer? Oh yeah, rates holidays. If you're in the retail, hospitality and leisure sector, if you're not in any of those sectors, sorry guys, doesn't apply to you. Isn't the government nice? Right, small business rates relief. Nicer, that covers a wider range of businesses. If your rates are less than £15,000, the government has provided some funding through your local councils to pay up to £3,000. Very nice. Again, that's being paid through your local council, and the councils are, of course, themselves having to set up the payment systems for that. So in many cases, not been paid yet. My local council is suggesting that they'll be able to get the payments out within the next 2 weeks. So actually being quite proactive, really helpful. Sometimes actually your local councils can be really useful people to talk to with this, about things like this. Some of the work they do can be really helpful. Of course, again, if you're in the leisure, retail and hospitality sectors, if your rateable value is up to £51,000, you get a nice big chunk, much bigger rate relief coming back, much bigger grant coming back, potentially up to £25,000. But again, if you're in things like engineering, manufacturing, office-based, yada yada, sorry guys, £3,000 maximum, and only if your rateable value is up to £15,000. Okay, so those are the main schemes. Okay. Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan Scheme. One can almost forget about this because it's such a pain in the jacksie to get your hands on the money. The banks, you may remember, the Chancellor gave them a bit of a kick in the bum because they were starting to impose all sorts of silly kind of restrictions and conditions around the loans. They were imposing fairly high interest rates on it. And the terms and conditions they were putting on around these supposed loans really defeated the object of having the loan scheme in place. Now, fortunately, the Chancellor has clamped down on some of those practices, if not all. But you will need, if you do go down that way, to have a very strong set of cash flow forecasts going forward. Again, one of the things that we spend quite a bit of time with our clients doing regular cash flow forecasts and so on. Also, we're hearing from clients working particularly in the manufacturing sector, there are difficulties with small to medium-sized companies who are subsidiaries within larger groups. Again, some of the banks are being a bit bolshy because they're saying you're not really an SME, even though you are. So we are keeping a very close eye on how that's working out. And I know various trade bodies like Make UK are lobbying quite hard on changing that so that you guys potentially can get access to some of this. But we'll keep an eye on it. That said, sometimes you may well find, again, particularly those of you in the manufacturing and engineering sectors, may well find that rather than that loan scheme, you might want to start having a fresh look at your asset financing, your debt financing, and things like that. Those are schemes that we regularly have conversations with our top tier clients with when we look at their various business planning, cash flow planning, finance planning, and so on. There are pros and cons to all of those various methodologies. Some of them are quite good for immediate cash flow, become quite hard to come out of. There are various things you can do to mitigate that. But again, now is quite a good time to look at how you're managing those particular schemes, because this might be the opportunity to either come in or come out of those schemes. Right, rents. Now, there has been some talk in the background about this, where the government has tried to make it clear that people won't forfeit commercial leases automatically if they miss a payment on their rent up to the 30th of June. Just a reminder, it's not a good idea to miss a rent payment. If you need rent assistance, talk to your landlord. And if in any event it's going to be a deferral, and you may well still end up getting a certain amount of grief. So talk to landlords about rent. Finally, on the sort of the general everyday run-of-the-mill stuff, insurance. Of course, it's in the news. Some of the insurers are not paying. In fact, many of the insurers are not paying out on their business interruption policies, saying that coronavirus is an uninsured event. I know there are court cases and challenges pending on that. Do keep us in the loop with what's going on that. I am keeping a close eye on those. Because it does make quite a big difference. Many small to medium-sized enterprises, business owners, don't really know the detail of what is and what isn't included in their policies. They just think business interruption uncovered. Quite often it isn't. The fine print matters. And again, that's why one of the services that we do with a number of our clients, as in effect an external chief financial officer, is spend time working with them, looking at the detail of the various covers that they've got, looking at the detail of how they structure their businesses and the protections they have in place to make sure that you're getting the most benefit out of what you're doing and you know where you are and what you've got. Anyway, that's the kind of the basic government stuff, and it's a little depressing, but never mind, out the way. Let's get on to the good stuff, which is the stuff you can be doing now. Now, probably number one, again, a lot of our clients have already been doing this, but something that if you've not been doing, you need to start thinking and looking at doing with your employees. Look at your PAYE expenses and benefits in kinds that you're paying people. Do a proper review of your PAYE, your payments, your payroll. Why? Well, simple. Payroll is a big, big cost. And more importantly, it contains a lot of hidden costs. People forget about the employer's national insurance, an extra 13.8% on top of what you pay people. And you go, oh yeah, I knew about employers' PAYE, of course. But quite often people forget about that when they're thinking about the impact of their payroll. You think about pension deductions, the fact that you've got an employer's pension contribution to make adds another couple of percent to what you're doing. Taking a leaf out of the work of many of my engineering and manufacturing clients, they spend a huge amount of time shaving a couple of grams off here, shaving a couple of millimeters off there. Why do they do that? Because lots of these small increments start adding up to very, very big differences in performance. Well, for you, having a look at your PAYE expenses and benefits in kind system can make quite a big difference when you start adding it up together. So, for example, a classic one that actually is quite appropriate at the moment. You've got employees working from home. Quite a lot of people do at the moment. It's a great way of dealing with the lockdown. Now, people working from home are allowed to have a working from home allowance by the Inland Revenue. That is tax-free. tax-free. Whisper it quietly. And this tax year, it's just gone up. Woo. I mean, it's been at the previous level for absolutely bleeding donkey's years. So the tax man isn't being particularly generous, but it makes a big difference. Why? Well, let's have a look at it. Now, important thing to remember is here, this is for people who have been told to or have to work from home. This doesn't apply to people who just say, oh, I'm going to volunteer to work from home. They have to be told to work from home. Okay? Technical difference, but it makes a little difference. It is, up until the 5th of April 2020, was £4 a week. This week, from the 6th of April going forward, £6 a week thereafter. So it was £18 a month, now £26 a month. Now £312 a year in total. You might think, oh, come on, Dave, £6 a week. Is that really going to make a humongous difference? Well, £6 a week? No, it isn't. But taking that engineering principle of little increments but built up, making a huge difference. Just think about it. If you have 5 employees working from home and you adjust their pay so that they get that £6 a week gross, tax-free, and you do it as a deduction from their salary. So instead of getting paid £6 more a week, they get paid £6 less a week, but you give them the £6 a week as a working from home allowance. Over a year, for 5 employees, that works out as the salary for 1 employee for a month. Actually turns into quite a significant sum of money, for dinky little sum of money every week. When you start factoring in things like employers' national insurance, pension contributions, so on, these things start to add up. Because with that £6 a week, there's no tax, no national insurance, no employers' national insurance, no pension deductions, and even better, you don't have to keep any special records. The bane of any accountant's life, the bane of any director's life. Okay, so nice, simple, easy. This is why we say to clients, you really need to be paying to have expenses, benefits in kind reviews. We can do similar things when it comes to people's professional subscriptions. You can do simple things like that with the Cycle to Work scheme. You can do simple things like that with a whole raft of different benefits that are useful to you as a business that are not treated as benefits in kind and so taxed as such, but generate benefit to the employee, gives them more money in their pocket, generates benefit for you, less cash flow out of your business. Okay, this is why we say do it. Okay, now is a good time to be doing that. You can be looking at various salary sacrifice schemes to deal with that. There are also, in terms of your employees, this is a good time if they're being furloughed, if they're working from home or whatever, good time to be talking to them to make sure that they are taking full advantage of the various tax reliefs they get as individuals as a result of their occupations, helping them with things like their tax returns, helping them to fill in a regular form with a revenue so they don't even have to do a tax return. But there are fixed tax reliefs for various occupations of between £60 and £140 a year, puts an extra 28 quid a year in your employees' pockets. Multiply that up over X number of employees, starts to become a significant money. Factor in the various employers' national insurance and so on. Yeah, you see where I'm coming from. It starts to make a difference. This is a simple and cheap benefit you can give to people that keeps people on board, that keeps the goodwill going, that puts a bit of cash flow in their pocket. And the nice thing about fixed fee deductions is if they haven't been doing it themselves or they haven't been getting it, you can backtrack it over a couple of years so that they can get a bit of money off of the inland revenue in the next couple of weeks, totally tax-free. Thank you very much indeed, sir. So, things like that. We're big fans of doing that, those little incremental gains. In terms of big gains, particularly if you're an engineering and manufacturing business, Have a fresh look at your research and development tax credits. Have a fresh look at the work that you've been doing to see whether you actually might qualify for some research and development tax reliefs. Because not only does that give you your standard 100% tax relief for that expenditure, but for small to medium-sized enterprises, if your research and expenditure or research and development expenditure qualifies, that gives you an extra 130% of qualifying costs deducted from your profit against your tax. So there's potentially tax refunds going back a year or two that you can go and get, put some cash into the business straight away. But also, if you're a loss-making business at the moment, and some businesses are and have that factored into their cash flows, you can actually get some cash advances on future research and development tax credit applications. Now, so something to look at. And again, one of the services that we can do is come in and have a look at that, look at what you're doing, help you ascertain what bits qualify against potential research and development tax credit costs. Finally, and again, putting my engineering hat on, or putting my engineering and manufacturing clients' hats on, I started thinking, well, are there things actually that you could be doing to take advantage of the current situation, to keep people employed, to keep the business ticking over, to keep income coming into the business so that you don't have to wait for some of these other schemes to come kicking in. And the government at the moment is looking for businesses to help them deal with the current coronavirus crisis. Okay? They're looking particularly for support on testing, medical testing equipment, medical equipment design. So if you've got a design and development facility and design engineers who are qualified, they may well be able to help, and you can charge that out, of course. PPE, protective equipment manufacture, a number of businesses have flipped their manufacturing process to help provide that service, particularly where, for instance, some of their current clients aren't wanting some of their stuff that they're producing. This is a good chance to say, well, let's divert that facility into a service that is currently needed in this particular national emergency. Transport and logistics companies, there's an opportunity for you here in terms of moving PPE kit around the country, and we've all seen the stories on the news about the government saying they've got stuff, hospitals saying they haven't. Half the time I suspect it's about stuff being in the wrong place at the wrong time. You guys are the specialists at dealing with this. You've got the trucks, you've got the drivers, you've got the warehousing. The government is after these. You can go in, tell them you can help, and who knows, there might be some contracts you can pick up from there. Manufacturing equipment. There may be an opportunity for you to make use of your equipment, or make use of some of your surplus equipment, or make use of some of your equipment that's not being used to help the government make other things at the moment. I mean, crikey, there was a bit in the news the other day, Holby City, the television series, they had some working medical equipment, which they used for their television show. They actually helped supply one of the NHS Nightingale hospitals because they had working ventilators. So it's like, here's a medical grade working ventilator. Off you go, you can use that. Brilliant. Well, there's things you could potentially be doing, as I say. But also, the government is looking in various places for even office space, for storage of some of this PPE equipment and so on. So if you're based near a Nightingale hospital, there may well be an opportunity there for you to use some surplus space while it's not being used by employees because they're working from home, yada yada. There's an opportunity here potentially for you. But also, if you've got general expertise in project management, procurement and so on, again, the government is looking for expertise and assistance in this to help them project manage this whole process and the construction of their new Nightingale hospitals, the maintenance of them, and the ongoing development. So, again, look out for those opportunities that are coming along. Anyway, I've spoken now for nearly 25 minutes. Gosh, you must be getting bored to death. This'll do for today. We'll catch up later. Hope you found this useful. Any questions, pop a note in the comments section, wherever there is one on here, or give me a shout, drop us an email, david@dinglelane.co.uk, visit our email, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, yada, 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 yada. And we'll see you next time. Have a great day and don't panic. Nanu nanu.